it's a very good opportunity for me to speak from the perspective of the fishers about sustainable and unsustainable fishing practices. My focus is more on the Trivandrum coast or Thiruvananthapuram coast. It's actually an original study. For the last couple of years, we have been having interactions with the fishers, the traditional fishers, indigenous fishers in Trivandrum coast, through the organization facilitated by the Coast Systems Cultural Forum, and also the part of the University Sussex, their project forecasting with the fishers in Trivandrum coast. So we have collected a lot of data from the people, directly visiting them and asking questions and their perspectives about how they use the ocean resources. So based on that, actually, I'm presenting today. Okay, so before moving forward, I have to touch upon sustainability principles. Of course, I know there are several speakers before me spoke a little bit about it, and some of them also gave detailed information about sustainability, how these sustainable principles can be adopted in blue economic models in India, also across the globe. For me, sustainability is a human practice because, as we know, we are living in an Anthropocene age. Therefore, the humans are the problem for the planet and also a problem for other ecosystem and species. Therefore, the humans are also the solutions for these issues we actually identified so far. Therefore, I think sustainability should come from the human beings. So it is a human practice. There are three main pillars of sustainability: cost, economy, human, people, or society, or social. Environmental is a planet. We talk about the planet. And sometimes it is also translated into profit and the people and the planet. So there are three common elements here. So when we think about the blue economic models, for example, these are the blue economic models developed by the national government and also the state government. The controversial recent deep sea project proposed by, now it is cancelled though, proposed by the Kerala government. And if you also look at the India's blue economy draft policy, are they actually talking about these sustainability principles? I doubt. So when I ask these questions, are they actually talking about the protection of the ocean resources or the sustainable use of the ocean resources? Are they talking about the development of the human beings, meaning all human beings, not just a few people like Adani or Ambani, like a few corporates? Are they talking about the development of the all people? And also, are they also talking about the wealth, the ocean wealth, to be shared to the all people? Because this has been being the common livelihood areas of many centuries for many people. So different players and different actors actually use the ocean for their livelihood. So this sustainability becomes an issue because there are too many pressures on ocean. There's too many activities are going on. We use ocean for different activities, our wealth, our increase in our income, and also leisure activities, and we get oxygen from ocean. There are a lot of contributions are made by ocean. But that ocean is having a problem. So that is why UN declares our ocean our future. So our future actually depends on our blue planet or blue resources. That is why most of the many countries under the leadership of the UK government and Canada, New Zealand, and other Sweden, Denmark, other countries are actually making efforts to strengthen the healthy and productive ocean. So how we as humans or researchers or academics or policymakers and individual people and fishers work together, make sure we retain and reproduce the healthy and productive ocean. That is about the sustainability principles. Unfortunately, these principles are actually, I cannot find much of this in these documents here. The one developed for the Kerala government, one actually developed by the Indian national government. I cannot see, you can see a lot of discussions these days regarding this. Okay, there are a lot of evidences, international literature actually available. Again, a couple of earlier speakers have touched upon this aspect as well. There is a huge depletion of fish stocks. According to FAO study, they suggest that about 80% of the ocean resources are fished. So if you calculate about the increase in population, we anticipate that there will be 9 to 10 billion population in 2050. And we have not have enough resources or fish resources in the ocean. Therefore, we will not be able to meet the demands of increasing population and also the present population. Therefore, we need to actually understand what's happening in this and why this there is a huge level of depletion of our fish stocks. So these international documents actually suggest that there is the IE fishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing is happening a lot. It actually covers more than 50% of the activities related to IE fishing. They destroy a lot of resources in the ocean. And there are a lot of destructive fishing practices like bottom trawling and drift net fisheries I showed in the picture here. You can see the before trawling, after trawling, what's happening here. So these activities actually destroy the seabed communities like starfishes, worms, and shellfish, etc. So these species are very important, as we know, as we biology students here, you may know this. So how these seabed communities actually making the life of the fishes sustainable and can be therefore people to use. So that is why these destructive practices we have to look at not only in an economic aspects, we also need to look at an environmental aspects. So again, with regard to sustainable principles. There are other ways of unsustainable fishing is happening in our ocean across the globe. Again, Dr. Suresh Kumar has actually mentioned this bycatch. There are a lot of fishes are actually not intended fishes are caught by the fishers, especially industrial fishes and commercial fishes. And recently, the traditional fishes are also having this kind of contribution, like they discard a lot of fishes in the sea because that are not the fish they intend to catch. So there are a lot of species are killed annually like that. Again, entanglement in fishing nets, we know about the horse nets issues. So a lot of fishes like turtles and other important species are actually entangled in fishing nets. So what happens when these kind of practices are going on, like FAO signals that these practices actually threaten livelihoods for small-scale fisheries in particular, not only small-scale fisheries, in particularly small-scale fisheries. There are a lot of documents actually suggest that small-scale fisheries are more sustainable than the industrial or large-scale fisheries in relation to marine waters. And because of these practices, the poverty is being exacerbated, and we have huge food insecurity issues in future. Like I mentioned about the increasing population trends as well. Okay, this study is actually conducted in artisanal, actually it's not me, a group of people conduct this study here in Trivandrum coast, artisanal with small scale fisheries. We checked and talked to people in the coast. Then, as we know that, I think you may know this, Trivandrum coast has a history of long resistance to destructive practices like trawling and also purseine and ring scenes. People were against all these practices in the past. I mean, there are a lot of people against such practices in the coast. This data actually from 6 traditional fishers, coastal villages. I use the multi-method approach because there is a new kind of theoretical underpinning is coming out. This is known as oceanic ethnography. A lot of people actually talk about this, but it is not actually new. It has been there for a longer time. Margaret Mead, the anthropologist who did a study, her study in Samoa Islands in South America and some other 6 oceanic communities. So she came up with this idea of oceanic ethnography, meaning field observation, staying with the community, interviewing people, and taking data from daily lives of the people. So that's how the data collected for this presentation. So before I proceed the findings from this study, I would like to define what I mean by Thiruvananthapuram coast. So this is actually very important, what I talk later, because how we define it is very complicated actually. That is why this ethnographic information are very important when you do scientific research. So as we know, Trivandrum coast is 78 kilometer coastline. So the fishing activities happen from the coast to 12 nautical miles, which is Kerala's territorial boundaries. Actually, the fishermen in Trivandrum go beyond these territorial boundaries in 20 kilometers or 20 to 22 kilometers. According to our data, these fishers, the traditional fishers using their usual boats, go to the deep sea until 150 miles, about more than 200 kilometers. They do deep sea fishing activities. This is one of the aspects actually not in the document recently published by the Kerala government. So they don't recognize that these fishers are actually going deep sea fishing activities. So the fishing activities happen in this 78 kilometers and to the coastline and towards the 12 nautical miles and beyond that. So the action, the fishing practices happening in this area, I conclude as or define as Thiruvananthapuram coast. In order to make it clear, I need to define a little bit further what I meant. I classified here 2 levels of coast, like in Thiruvananthapuram coast and by Thiruvananthapuram coast. There is also a slight difference here. So in Thiruvananthapuram coast, I refers to whatever activities happening this 78 kilometer coastline and 12 nautical miles and beyond that. Whatever activities happening, which influence the sustainable fisheries in the area. So that is what I meant by in Thiruvananthapuram coast. By Thiruvananthapuram coast, I meant that fishing practices adopted by the indigenous small-scale artisanal fishers and the registrations within the district level. So whatever the registrations come under Trivandrum district level, I call as by or define as by Thiruvananthapuram coast. So the major methods of fishing, we know that these fishers are doing various type of hook and line fishing, chundapani in their local language they say. There are about more than 20 varieties of different types of hook line fishing they do. Especially the hook line fishers go much deeper than the net fishers. They also do various types of net fishing using gillnets and other types of nets to catch fishes. And boatswain nets, Tatumadi, with light fishing. It used to be, this boatswain fishing used to be done during daytime. So it was part of a day fishing. Now it's increasingly becoming night fishing. That's why they use light fishing also, which is problematic as well. Ring scenes with and without light fishing. Earlier, these ring scenes were not using lights. They were also doing fishing during daytime. Now they have also started do fishing during night. So it's becoming night fishing as well. Therefore, they also use light fishing. Trawling, including pair trawling, which is supposed to be known to do fishing within the 12 kilometers, 12 nautical miles actually, but they come even very closer to the coast also. They do fishing in within the 5 kilometers distance as well. Then shore scenes, that is used to be the, time immemorial, one of the indigenous or traditional practices over the many centuries, Karamedio, Kampavala. So these are the main types of fishing activities happening in the coast. So I want to classify which are the more sustainable fishing activities and which are not, which are not sustainable fishing activities that we will discuss now. So I also identified the three groups of fishes here. There are sustainable fishers who are committed actually to do the sustainable fishing activities. They don't want to do unsustainable fishing activities. They do hook line fishing. They use the traditional way of fishing, and though they go further and also within the 12 nautical miles, but they prefer to do sustainable fishing activities. There are unsustainable fishing activities going on a lot. They're increasingly going on. For the last couple of years, there is higher level of increasing activities in an unsustainable manner is happening here. There are also fishes with mix of both sustainable and unsustainable. The other aspect, sometimes these fishes are not very distinctive groups. So we cannot sometimes classify these are sustainable fishes, those others are unsustainable. This is sometimes very difficult. Of course, there are a group of fishes still do sustainable fishing activities. Most of the time they mix, they do both sustainable fishing activities and unsustainable fishing practices in the sea. Okay, so according to our understanding, the most sustainable fishing practices which is going on in the coast is various types of hook and line fishing, because they don't destroy the underwater ecosystem. They don't have bycatches. They don't discard the fishes there. And of course, they are not using nets. Then there is no issue of host nets. So this is the most kind of sustainable fishing activities, including light fishing. So people, when they talk about the light fishing, they often miss out the point that there are fishers who use light fishing in a sustainable way. Of course, light has some ecological impact. We know that, but the way of fishing using the light fishing actually not much problem for the fish stocks or the marine ecosystems. This is an indigenous technology invented by the traditional fishers and practiced from time immemorial. So I also classify here a few of fishes caught by using the various types of hook and line fishing, like Kanava, Chura, Ulichira, the different kinds of fish. I also give the English names and scientific names as well. Okay. So I identified there are 5 main unsustainable fishing practices which affect fish stocks. This include non-fishing activities as well. So remember the practices which affect fish stocks. So the first one, this is the rating according to the fishes. Purse seine or ring seine with and without light fishing is the most dangerous fishing activities according to these fishes. The trawling, the second most fishing activities according to the fishes happening in this coast. Remember my definition of Trivandrum coast. And boat seining with the light fishing is another level of unsustainable fishing practices happening. The other, this is very, very interesting. They also talk about dredging, especially fishes at Vizhinjam, Pundra, and also the mollusk collectors in that area, Mullur area. They actually said dredging actually affect the fish stocks in that area, because the dredging is happening one of the most ecologically sensitive areas for the Vizhinjam port development. Then, of course, there are some forms of gillnets for catching underwater species. I will explain a little bit detail about these each practices. So this is, as I said, they do light fishing and also day fishing. Then this is the local language. They use the terminology for this type of fishing is Adakam Kolli Vala, meaning killing the whole. So whatever in that area is killing everything. That is why this name actually, this word actually invented by these fishes. So this is, I show the Mudalapudi fish market. So this type of fishing actually concentrated in Mudalapudi area, Mudalapudi fishing market. Perimadara fishes and also Tarampalli Putra. These three villages are mainly do this type of fishing activities. Then this is actually not indigenous technology. This is an imported technology from outside, introduced in actually 1980s, not 1960s. There's a mistake there. 1980s. So supported by government and scientific community to increase the productivity of the fish. To increase as the increase of the demand of the fish, they want to increase the fish catch. Therefore, this was supported by the governments, both central governments and also the state governments, and this type of fishing. An important thing is this type of fishing is actually illegal in Trivandrum. So illegal in the sense these fishermen, as I mentioned earlier, they were resisted this type of fishing, introduced this type of fishing in Trivandrum coast. Therefore, most of this, all of this, according to the right to information reply we got from the state government, all these Persian or Ringseen fishes are registered either in Koilon or in Alapi, not in Trivandrum, because in Trivandrum, there is no registration for such fishing practices. So will this come under IU fishing, illegal and unregulated fishing practice? So we need to think and discuss. Then next, trawling, another fishing activities. Again, there is no trawling boats in Trivandrum district. These trawling boats are actually come from either Kanyakumari district or Koilon, Alapi district. They come to Trivandrum coast. Again, this is an imported technology, not an indigenous technology, introduced in 1960s in Koilon and later other parts of India as well. This type of fishing activity is also supported by the government and scientific community. Again, this type of fishing also illegal in Trivandrum. Earlier, as I mentioned earlier, this used to be a practice beyond the 12 nautical miles, but now these fishes are also coming towards the coast. So there is a lot of conflicts between the fishermen, the traditional fishers, and these trawlers are happening. Most of the time, they complain to the marine enforcement agencies. They don't respond positively. And another important finding we know that the pandemic has affected negatively a lot. Here, according to the fishers, pandemic in fact affected positively as well for the small scale fishers. According to them, during that monsoon time, the COVID was happening very hugely, I mean, more number of cases were reported. Then even the deep sea fishing was banned. So because of that, from August to September, October, they have a good catch, especially avoli and also sea fish. They could catch a lot. That is the first time they say in a 20 years time, they have such a big number of fish they could catch this the last year in 2020. This is because of the trawling boats were banned during the pandemic second stage, I think. So, so that this trawling is another type of unsustainable fishing practice in the coast. And boat seining with light fishing, it is increasing. Again, light fishing is an indigenous technology. It's not an imported technology, actually. It is an practiced by many years ago by the indigenous fishers. But earlier, they were using only for hook line fishing. Light, where they were using, there is also, you can see the evolution of light. Earlier, they were using chimney light, then gas light. Now it is now used by LED lights. So again, they do night fishing now using these lights. I'm not sure whether it is illegal or not. There is no, we are not getting any concrete data from the government whether it is illegal in the coast or not, like pursing or ringshing or trawling fishing in Trivandrum coast. Now this is a non-fishing activity actually, which is affect the fish stocks in Trivandrum coast. As you can see, the dredging happened in 2015 in November 5th. Before dredging, that area was, the Mullur area was like this. After dredging, you can see the picture. This is documented by Friends of Marine Life under the leadership of Robert Penipula. So they, the fishers, especially snorkelers and mussel collectors, actually say that their underwater ecosystem, which they traditionally used for their livelihood, actually hugely affected. They lost their traditional fishing grounds. Therefore, they now come to Kovalam area to catch mussels and other types of shrimp species. And according to the Virinam fishermen who do fishing activities in deep sea as well, Virinam fishermen, the Muslim community, also the Christian community, North and South Virinam, they say that they used to have a lot of fish catching during monsoon, because monsoon time, the lot of fishes come to the shore, then it is easy for them to catch there. They also say that there used to be a time when the fishes come, usually the pelagic fishes, when they come, they actually stay, they used to stay there for 2 or 3 days. Now it's not happening. It affected their fish catch. So again, it is an imported technology, it's not indigenous practice, introduced in 2015 and supported by government and scientific community. I'm not sure whether it is illegal or not. Okay, so another type of some forms of gillnets for catching underwater fishes. Again, you can see there are a lot of underwater ecosystem are caught by these fishes. There are worms and some starfishes, some other very, very key and important marine organisms are very caught by these nets. Again, this is an imported technology from Tamil Nadu. This is only practiced one particular village in Trivandrum. This is again introduced in 2017. It was not practiced earlier. Again, I'm not sure whether it is an illegal practice in Trivandrum or not. So you can see actually how these practices are actually happening. Who are the responsible people for this disappearance of fish stocks in our coast? The government has the responsibility, the scientific community has the responsibility, either not speaking against it or either supporting it. So when we plan. That is why the sustainable principles are very important. We need to collaboration of all these people together to make it our ocean resources sustainable and fish sustainably. So what's the point here? What's the point is there is a big conflict is going among these three groups of fishes I mentioned earlier due to these unsustainable practices. They are not actually discussing about these sustainable practices like hook line fishing. They don't have any problem with that. There is no argument. There is no conflict in relation to that because it's very sustainable. Everybody knows it. But there is a big argument. There is a conflict. There's even sometimes a physical fight is going within our ocean in the coast, Trawling coast, due to these unsustainable practices. So the conflicts between the fishes are actually three grounds. I mean, one for the control of fishing grounds. So one group of fishes say, there is a big underwater ecosystem here, so you should not do practices like trawling or seining or dredging, you should not do there. Then they also said this is actually for the sustainable fishing grounds, so it should be allowed only to the fishing should be done by the hook line fishing or traditional fishers who do sustainable practices. And there is also conflict exists because of widening social and economic disparity, because the purse-seining fishers are becoming richer and richer, and trawlers sometimes also they catch huge amount of fish at a time. I have noticed that in a couple of times the person actually caught fish in their fishing boat 40, 50 lakhs in a single day. So usually these 50 lakhs to be shared by maybe 5,000 or 10,000 fishes. Now it is caught by a single fisher group, maybe 50 to 20, 30 fishes. So this actually widening the disparity and also social conflict also widening. Some arguments, again, the conflict in relation to unsustainable practices in terms of ecological concerns. So now the fishers say that, see, if you continue this type of practices, we cannot no longer be fishers, we cannot survive our life, and we cannot even have basic income. Not only that, it will affect our seafood consumption also. So then for that reason, these kind of unsustainable practices should be stopped. So there is a huge argument is going on there. Therefore, what my studies, this is my final slide actually. So I thought I should finish by 12. So this is the point I'm making here. So there are a lot of understanding needed, even for defining the cause, what kind of fishing practices are going on, why fishers do such practices, and who is actually responsible for the depletion of fish stocks. Often, like our previous presenters, people say about climate change. Of course, climate change is a huge issue. According to the fishermen, for the last 20 years, they are not talking about last 5 years, they are actually talking about last 20 years, the sea surface water temperature is rising. Therefore, according to them, the fishes also travel interior and into deep sea. So the fishes actually travel further to catch fishes because of this sea temperature is rising. This is especially evident according to the fishers during monsoon time. Used to be monsoon time, we're cooler comparatively from the land-based temperature, but it is increasing. The temperature is even increasing during monsoon time as well. So that is there, that the climate change issues are there, but most of these practices which destroy our marine ecosystems and fish stocks are human intervened, or even human-induced activities actually destroyed our ecosystems, marine ecosystem. And the other aspect I found that there is no acknowledgement of good practices. Nobody is supporting good practices. Nobody is supporting sustainable fishing practices. No academic communities, no policymakers, or even the environmental activities are actually not supporting the good practices already there. Therefore, there is no kind of incentive for them to continue that practices. There is no financial support, even not any kind of cultural support. So these are not there. So there is no acknowledgement of good practices. So what's happening because of that, even the sustainable practitioners are moving into unsustainable practices. And most of the cases, there is no penalty or fee or blue tax or anything like that for destructive practices which affect our fish stocks. So the sustainable fishers actually complain to me that a number of times when they call the coastal police or coast guard or marine enforcement to do some intervention when they find the destructive practices are going on, most often they are not listened to or not even taken care of. So there is no system to penalize the destructive practices. So when we think about the blue economic model, so we have to aware of these three basic pillars of the humanity and humans or people who practice the good sustainable way of fishing. We should support them, and also there should be some kind of restrictive practices for the destructive fishing practices, and also the practices which influence the fish stocks.